All right. Good afternoon, everybody. You're welcome to class once again. I believe that our day has been great. All right, we are taking it to another level now, and we are going to be treating this particular topic: managing business in a VUCA environment. Managing business in a volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity environment. I strongly believe that we are here to learn, and we bring a lot of questions regards to this topic. And Dr. Benito is here for us as well. Please bring out your writing materials and your questions along, and kindly share the link with friends and family that you think they may also be interested to join us as well. And I believe everything will be all right as we proceed. Thank you once again. I'll be the anchor for this session. And my name is Damilola Olani. Welcome to class.
All right, thank you so much, Dami, for having me around once again. I appreciate that greatly. And I want to welcome every one of us being part of this program this wonderful evening from Nigeria. So wherever you're joining us from, whether you're joining from Nigeria, you're joining from Ghana, from UK, from whatever country you're joining us from. So please, we're glad to have you around. And in the morning section, we had a good time discussing on result-driven planning and also discussing on smart goal setting. So this evening, we're going to be looking at managing business in a VUCA environment, okay? And there are two concepts we are going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at resilience planning, and we're going to be looking as well as at scenario planning. However, we're going to divide this training into two, or this section into two. So we're going to take just one of the planning approaches today, which is the resilience planning, and then subsequently we'll be taking, still on the same subject, but we'll be taking on scenario planning. All right. So once again, you're welcome. If you've not subscribed to the channel, please, we encourage you to do so right now. So let's get into what we have as our discussion for today. So on the screen, you have our learning outcomes, the things we want to achieve by the end of this section. So we want to understand what the VUCA environment is all about, highlighting the impact of VUCA on businesses, enumerate strategies for managing in a VUCA environment, then review leadership in a VUCA world, and then we will explain the concept of resilience and scenario planning. Like I said earlier, we're going to just focus on one of the planning approaches, which is the resilience planning for today, and then subsequently we'll look at scenario plan, just to make sure that we have good understanding of both concepts and we have the time to practice them as well. So now let's go on. And as usual, I will start with a quote. According to Robert H. Schuller, most of us have read that his awesome book. And if you've never read that book before, I would recommend that you read the book again. The book that is titled Tough Times Never Last, but Tough People Do. And the same way we can say tough times never last, but tough organizations do. The uncertain environment, the disrupted business environment had actually come to stay. So what are you going to be doing about it? Are you going to complain about it, or are you going to find a way out? Now, according to Stephen Ratner, he also said that, not surprisingly, troubled economic times often beget the proselytizers of wacky extreme ideas. That's to say, after troubled economic times, there is always time for better opportunities, inventions, and what have you. Okay, so proselytes. Okay, so they are the proselytizers of wacky extreme ideas. Then Mahatma Gandhi said that adversity is the mother of progress. Paraphrased, adversity is the mother of invention. So we shouldn't allow the situations around us to stop us from progressing. Now, I would like us to quickly take a very good case study of what the VUCA environment looked like for the US environment in 2005. So it's more like a case study for scenario planning, a case study for resilience planning. Like I said, we're going to be focusing much more on resilience planning today, and then subsequently we look at scenario planning. So the case study is going to be focusing on the President George W. Bush in 2005. He said, if we wait for a pandemic to appear, it will be too late to prepare. And this was sparked by a book he read about the 1918 flu pandemic, which spurred the government to take action. So the source for this is also there. So in case you would like to read more about the story, it's a long story. So we just summarize the story, and it's the summary of the story we are using here as a case study. So you can use the source there. You can get the source and then read the entire story from the abcnews.go.com. In the summer of 2005, while on a vacation at his Texas ranch, President George W. Bush read a book about the 1918 flu pandemic. Struck by its potential impact, he initiated the creation of a comprehensive pandemic plan upon his return to Washington. This plan included a global early warning system, funding for rapid vaccine technology, and a national stockpile of critical supplies. The effort, though intense for 3 years, was not fully sustained, with various components left unrealized or shelved due to other priorities and crises. Despite this, elements of the plan became the foundation for U.S. response to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. So what Bush foresaw in 2005 became a roadmap for the US government to handle the corona pandemic in 2019. So that's a long gap, but that is actually foreseeing challenges well ahead of time and then planning for them. Okay, foreseeing challenges well ahead of time and then planning for them. So we want to use and then look at what we have to deal with in terms of the VUCA environment. So let's proceed and see what we have there. So what then is the VUCA environment? By introduction, rapid changes in the business landscape necessitate adaptive strategies. Understanding and effectively managing the VUCA elements is crucial for businesses to thrive in an ever-changing environment. Organizations that can adapt and respond strategically to these challenges are better positioned for long-term success. So in this section also, we're going to be looking at sources of the VUCA environment. What are the things that bring about these volatilities, these uncertainties, these complexities, and these ambiguities in the business environment? So we're going to be looking at that as we proceed. Now, understanding the VUCA environment, so we have the volatility, the uncertainty, the complexity, and the ambiguity. Volatility has to do with rapid and unpredictable changes in the market. Uncertainty has to do with lack of predictability and the inability to foresee future events. That's uncertainty. Complexity has to do with the interconnected and intricate business environment, and the ambiguity has to do with lack of clarity in interpreting information and making decisions. So the question is, can these things affect the business environment? Let's find out. What's the impact of the VUCA environment on businesses? Number one, it leads to increased risk and unpredictability. Increased risks and unpredictability. This is one of the major reasons why many people are closing down their businesses. The reason why many individuals are losing their jobs, because in the VUCA environment, there is increased risks and quite in a great deal, they are unpredictable. All right. Now, the second impact is challenges in strategic planning and decision making. Now, because of the nature of the VUCA environment, being volatile, being uncertain, being complex, and being ambiguous, it makes it difficult, or it becomes a challenge towards strategic planning and decision making. And then it also, as part of the impact, necessity for agile and flexible business model. So there is need for individuals, for organizations to pay attention in contemporary times on the use of agile and flexible business models. So what I enjoyed that in this class or in this section, we'll be looking at one of the agile and flexible models for handling the VUCA environment. Now, moving forward, possible areas of VUCA, you have the technological disruption. The technological disruption could be in terms of volatility, rapid advancement in technology, which can quickly change industry landscape. On the uncertainty, you have unpredictable nature of the emerging technologies and their impact on the markets. Today, we talk about artificial intelligence, we talk about machine learning, and the truth is that we've not been able to fathom exactly the depth in which these new technologies are going to affect the business environment, affect jobs, affect homes, affect generally the economy, the government, and what have you. Okay, so it is still, we are still in times of uncertainty as far as some of these technologies coming up are concerned. Then complexity, integrating new technologies into existing business models can be intricate. For instance, again, introduction of artificial intelligence, yes, is good, but the question is now, do you know how to integrate it to your business? Do you know how to integrate it to your career? Do you know how to integrate it in your everyday life? So that complexity, people have to learn, relearn before they'll be able to know how to get this done. All right. So those complexities also have their own roles they play in business environment. And then we have the ambiguity, which is lack of clarity on which emerging technologies will dominate or become obsolete. Okay, which of them will become, which of them will dominate, which of them will become obsolete? We may not know just by looking at them, but over time, as these changes keep coming, as these disruptions keep coming, there will be checks and balances. Okay, so the ecosystem will find a way of balancing itself. And this is what I reasoned out. So this is just my own perspective, okay, my own perspective to technological disruptions, that it will actually take higher technological disruptions to balance the ongoing disruptions. Okay, so it will take higher technological disruptions to balance the ongoing disruptions. So how do I mean? So the more disruptions we have, the more we get acclimatized to the current disruptions that we have. So the more the disruptions, the more we get acclimatized, the more we adjust to the disruption realities, especially in the technical and technological environment. Okay. Now, on the areas of global economic shifts, on the volatility, fluctuations in currency exchange rates and commodity prices, using Africa as a case study and precisely Nigeria, we see a whole lot of changes in this domain. Just barely a year ago, no, not up to a year ago, barely 6 months ago, okay, barely 6 months ago, yes, as of May 2023, we are talking about a price of dollar to naira for about 463 naira. But for today, we have a price of dollar fluctuating between 1,190 plus to 1,200 plus, right? That's a whole lot of fluctuation. Okay, and of course, we are not just reading those fluctuations in terms of figures, we also are feeling the impact of these economic transactions, of these economic fluctuations, of these economic volatilities in the business world, in the career world, in all part of the economy. All right, now we have the uncertainty, economic downtime, trade tensions, and geopolitical events. Okay, I gave example of the Nigerian case study in the morning when we looked at the political system, how it affected and massively disrupted the economic activities. Okay, then we look at complexities, the interconnected global market and supply chain. Okay, so if there is anything happening in America, be rest assured that it affects someone in Africa. If there's something happening in Russia, be rest assured that it affects someone in Nigeria. Of course, we saw how the Ukraine-Russia war had impacted the war, the entire world economy drastically. Okay, and not just positively, but negatively too. Okay, but thanks to what's happening there, because now we began to see individuals in Africa, in Nigeria, begin to build their own refineries, and those who went into commodity trading, agricultural commodity trading. So, as it were, Nigeria is gradually recuperating from its dependence on Ukraine for the supply of wheat and some other grains as such, and then they are also reducing their over dependence in Russia in terms of supply of oil, of fuel. All right. So they also provide opportunities. The VUCA environment is not just to be considered negatively, it also has its own opportunities that it brings, all right? Now we have the ambiguity, difficulty in predicting the long-term effect of economic shifts. In terms of the global economic shift, we might not be able to predict. Now we see the cryptocurrencies coming in. Whether we like it or not, cryptocurrencies have effect on the global economic environment, okay? So we have people now who store their monies on cryptos, okay? So they have digital wallets where they store their monies. And you know the most amazing thing? The countries of the world are also beginning to adopt digital coins, cryptocurrency, as legal means of transacting businesses. So this, in a way, is also affecting the entire business environment. Now, moving forward, we have the area of market competition. We have volatility in terms of sudden changes in consumer preferences and market trends. We have uncertainty in terms of competitive moves, new entrants, and changing customer expectations. Then we have complexity in terms of adapting business models to navigate a crowded and dynamic marketplace. Then we also have ambiguity in terms of difficulty in understanding the competitive landscape and predicting the market shifts. All of these are factors in the side of market competition. Then we also have that of regulatory challenges, volatility in terms of frequent changes in the regulatory and compliance requirement, uncertainty in terms of ambiguity about the interpretation and enforcement of new regulations, and then complexity in terms of adjusting business practices to comply with evolving regulatory frameworks. And then we have ambiguity in terms of uncertain legal interpretations and potential legal consequences. Okay, all right. Now, moving very fast, we'll also see VUCA in terms of climate change and environmental factors. Climate change, I think climate change is one of the major topics that are held utmost in contemporary times. So every now and then, every government of the world is taking responsibility in terms of climate changes and the likes of them. So volatility in this case will have unpredictable weather patterns and natural disaster affecting businesses. Uncertainty in terms of lack of clarity on the long-term impact of climate change on specific industries. For instance, in Nigeria, about 2 years ago, we had the issue of flood that wiped off crops, wiped off or reduced productivity in the agricultural sector. Okay, so irrespective of the fact that we have the NIMET that have been giving forecasts on what flood, the possibilities of flood and the likes of them, and warning people ahead of time, although most of us don't still pay attention, but it's important we begin to pay attention to data regarding VUCA environments, right? Okay, then we have complexity in terms of developing sustainable business practices and navigating green technologies. Then we have ambiguity in terms of unclear regulatory frameworks and the evolving public expectations. All of these things are just areas of VUCA. These are not just the only areas. Okay, there are quite a number of areas. Virtually every aspect of business, you have something affecting it. You have one thing or the other affecting it. So I would like to request of as you're taking this section right now, if you can hear me clearly, just type in the chat room one area that you think the VUCA environment is also playing a major role. The VUCA environment is playing a major role. We could mention the whole lot of them, but mention at least 1, 2, 3 industries where you can see the effect of VUCA in real times. The effect of VUCA in real times. I'm looking at the chat room and looking at what you're coming up with. Okay. Now, strategies for managing VUCA environment. Strategies for managing VUCA environment. We'll have the agility and flexibility strategy, innovation and creativity strategy, collaboration and networking strategy, and then robust data analytics strategy. On agility and flexibility, embrace a mindset that values adaptability and quick responses. So if you have agility and flexibility as part of your strategy, it is easier for you to adapt to change. It is easier for you to adopt agile approaches in managing the VUCA environment. Establish agile frameworks to respond to changes swiftly. Okay. Now, if we go back to the case study that we had on President George Bush of America, having to create a strategic plan that will handle emergencies, handle pandemics as they come, as far back as 2025. That created a foundation for America to be able to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic in 2019. So with an agile framework, you can always find a way to deal with uncertainties or dealing with the VUCA environment as they arise. Now, on the innovation and creativity, foster a culture of innovation to stay ahead of the curve, encourage creative problem solving to navigate uncertainties. And how do you do this? Primarily, you do this through training and retraining. So providing relevant information per time and giving people the opportunity to brainstorm and be able to come up with ideas on how to solve problems. All right. Then you have collaboration and networking. Of course, all of these things, there are things we cannot just do alone. So find areas of collaboration, build strong partnerships with other businesses and industry players, leverage collective intelligence for better problem solving. And then on robust data analytics, invest in advanced analytics to gain insights from data. Data is being used these days for both descriptive purposes and both predictive purposes. So you could use data to predict events, you could use data to predict occurrences, and predict something that could happen in the future. All right. The story about of Bush, he read a story about 1918 flu called influenza. Okay, the influenza flu. Okay. And then upon reading the story, he discovered that this event happens every 100 years. Okay, every 100 years, this particular event happens. And then he had to come back. When he came back to Washington, he said, no, we cannot just stay unprepared for this kind of pandemic to come to us. So let's plan ahead. Whether it is 100 years or it is not 100 years, let's just plan and start planning. Let's start planning for unforeseen circumstances. Let's start planning for disruptions, as the case may be. All right. So with that trend of knowing that, okay, every 100 days this happens, every 100 days this happens, it was easier for America at that time to come up with a strategy, plan on how to deal with VUCA environments as they come up. Now, quickly, let's look at leadership in a VUCA world. Leadership in a VUCA world. Leadership in a VUCA world. Now, when dealing with leadership in a VUCA world, we have visionary leadership. There are three components we look at there: visionary leadership, emotional intelligence, and continuous learning. One of the easiest ways to stay ahead, even in turbulent times, is to make sure that you keep your eyes on the vision. So the longer your vision, the bigger your vision, the better for you. Okay, there is a statement that anyone that gives up in times of trouble, the person is a weak person. If you ever give up in times of trouble, then you're weak. Okay, you're weak. All right, but we want to be strong at all times. So one of the ways to do that is through keeping an eye on visionary leadership. Keeping an eye on visionary leadership. Leaders should have a clear vision to guide the organization. Whether it is an organization, or it is a team, or it is a family, or it is just yourself, you must have vision long enough to sustain you through hard times, to sustain you through turbulent times. So communicate the vision to inspire and motivate your teams. Emotional intelligence. Leaders should be empathetic and attuned to the emotional needs of the team, emotional needs of the country, emotional needs of family members. Foster a positive and supportive work environment. Continuous learning. Encourage a culture of continuous learning and development. Equip team with the skills needed to navigate ambiguities. During the lockdown, a whole lot of people lost their jobs. During the 2023 election, a whole lot of people lost their jobs. Do you know the most amazing thing? Most people will still lose their jobs this year because the VUCA environment is not going to go anywhere. Like I said, it will take greater disruptions to handle the ongoing disruptions. All right, that's just the reality. So if anyone is not ready to learn, is not ready to build on capacity and skill, the truth is he will be pushed out of the way for those who have what it takes to move forward, to be in the team. All right, so we must pay attention as leaders. We must pay attention to continuous learning. Thank you for being part of this training today, because this information is going to help you to position yourself in getting better in 2024 and maximizing opportunities as they come. Now, quickly, let's take a look at resilience planning. Resilience planning, okay? Resilience planning, a strategic approach to business continuity. Resilience planning, a strategic approach to business continuity. From the chat room, I could see some people telling areas where VUCA is so much predominant. So someone talked about exchange rate, someone talked about market prices of foodstuff, and talked about petrol prices. This person must be a Nigerian. Okay. This person talking about this must be a Nigerian. Okay, so you can go ahead and give us more instances. Look at them industry by industry. Which industry do you think was most affected by the 2023 election in Nigeria? Now, if you're not a Nigerian, the last election that took place in your country, which industry was most hit? The COVID-19 in your country, which industry was most hit? Which organizations were most hit? And for the ones that they were able to move on, what do you think they did differently? All right, so while we are looking at that, let's quickly look at resilience planning. Now, the concept of resilience planning, Resilience planning involves developing strategies and measures to help organizations withstand, adapt to, and recover from various disruptions and challenges. Resilient planning involves developing strategies and measures to help organizations withstand, adapt to, and recover from various disruptions and challenges. It is the ability to anticipate, prepare for, respond to, and recover from disruptions. It is the ability to anticipate, prepare for, respond to, and recover from disruptions. It is the ability to anticipate, prepare for, respond to, and recover from disruptions. The importance of resilience planning is ensuring business continuity and sustainability. Ensuring business continuity and sustainability. Ensuring business continuity and continuity. All right? This is very, very important. This is very, very important. Now, key elements of resilience planning. So we have 3 key elements here. This does not mean that these are the only elements, but these are the 3 primary elements of resilience planning. Okay. So we have risk assessment, business impact analysis, and strategic planning. Now, I don't know what else you could think. In your own perspective, what other thing do you think should be part of resilience planning? I want you to put in the chat room, what other component do you think should be part of resilience planning? What other key element? What other key element do you think should be part of resilience planning? So I would like you to put that in the chat room so that we can all view it together, right? Okay, now on the risk assessment, identify and assess potential risks and vulnerabilities. Identify and assess potential risks and vulnerabilities. Identify and assess potential risks and vulnerabilities. So if you look at that statement, it is a statement that has to do with prospecting future events. Prospecting future events. So it has to do with forecasting, it has to do with predicting what could possibly happen in the future. All right. Okay. Now you have prioritize risks based on their impact and likelihood. Prioritize risks based on their impact and likelihood. Prioritize risks based on their impact and likelihood. Now, by the time you prioritize risks based on their impact and likelihood, that will now tell you where you have to focus your strategies on and also how to prioritize your strategy, right? Then on the business impact analysis, evaluate the potential impact of disruptions on critical business functions. Now, on your own career, evaluate the potential impact of disruptions on critical career functions, critical career prospects. So for a business, if you're a business person, maybe you're a CEO or you are an MD, you're a director of a board, you're a board member of an organization, evaluate the potential impact of disruptions on critical business functions. Then identify dependencies and interdependencies within the organization that can be impacted by these disruptions. Okay, if this disruption affects operations department, how will it affect HR? If it affects HR, how will it affect marketing? If it affects marketing, how will it affect ICT? So identify the dependencies and the interdependencies within the organization. Then engage in strategic planning. Develop a comprehensive resilience strategy aligned with business objectives. And then define clear goals and objectives for resilience initiative. I would recommend, if you just joined us this evening, I would recommend that you watch the video, the earlier video we did today on mastering the art of result-driven planning and SMART goals. So with that, it will be easier for you to engage in strategic planning. You can look at the framework, look at the templates that we developed, okay, and you'll be able to use that to come up with a strategic plan. All right. Now, building a resilient culture. There are two aspects here to building a resilient culture: the leadership and governance, and employee training and awareness. So we can say training and awareness. So whether it is for employees or for the leadership, it doesn't really matter, but there must be training and there must be consistent training and consistent awareness. For the leadership and governance, establish a dedicated resilience team with defined roles and responsibilities. Ensure leadership commitment to resilience initiatives. Across the countries of the world, we have what we call the Corporate Governance Code. In Nigeria, we have the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance. I would encourage you to take a look at it and then find out what it talks about on resilience, what it talks about on sustainability, what it talks about on continuity. It will give you a guide on how to position yourself in your own country. Okay, so if you're Nigerian, take a look at the Nigerian Code of Corporate Ethics. And if you, in your own country, find out what it is and then go through it. What is your country talking about resilience? What is your country talking about sustainability? What is your country talking about in terms of sustainability, continuity, resilience, and all of that? Agility, okay? Project management, what's your country talking about in that? Okay, then for training and awareness, conduct training programs to enhance employee awareness of potential risks. Foster a culture of responsibility and preparedness among staff. Now, meanwhile, as we're going through this lecture, if you have need to train your staff, to train your board on these issues being mentioned and other issues, please feel free to contact us. We'll be able to give you the best training, and not just best training, custom fit training to suit your needs per time. All right. So you can always send us a mail. You can always chat us up. And you can always visit the website, communicate with us. Let us know how we can be part of your business growth this year, 2024, and also moving forward. All right? Okay, thank you so much. Then preparedness and mitigation strategies. Okay, one of the key aspects of resilience planning is that we get to prepare well ahead of time. Whether we see the problem or not, that's not a challenge, but we want to prepare so that we don't get caught unawares. So there are two domains to that preparedness. You have the emergency response plans, and then you have your supply chain resilience. Okay, you have your emergency response planning, and then you have your supply chain resilience. Okay, now on your emergency response plan, develop and implement clear protocols for responding to emergencies, and then conduct regular drills and training exercises. For your supply chain resilience, diversify suppliers and establish contingency plans for supply chain disruptions. Monitor and assess the resilience of key suppliers. Now, all of this bring us back to scenario planning. All right, bring us back to scenario plan. So your emergency response plans, you can identify or predict with scenarios what would happen within your organization, and then put up clear protocols of how to handle those emergencies when they occur, whether it is on emergency or whether it is on the supply chain. So all of this can be treated with resilience planning or with scenario planning. So a combination, it is actually a function or the output of scenario planning that gives birth to resilience planning. The output of scenario planning that gives birth to resilience planning. We'll just take a brief look at scenario planning, but we will have a detailed section on scenario planning moving forward. All right? Okay. So we also have the response and recovery measures. Response and recovery measures. Of course, as you are preparing for emergencies, preparing for these uncertainties, you also want to prepare for response and recovery measures should anything happen. So you have your communication plans, establish effective communication channels for internal and external stakeholders, develop communication protocols during crisis. Then you have the IT disaster recovery. Okay, we have cyber crimes on the rise right now, so you need to make sure that you have great security, great cyber security to avoid the issues, right? Okay. So you have the IT disaster recovery, implement robust IT recovery plans to ensure data and system integrity, regularly test backup and recovery systems. Then you have your continuous improvement, post-incident analysis, and regularly review and update. The post-incident analysis is conducting a thorough post-incident analysis to identify areas of improvement and then update your resilience plan based on lessons learned. Then on the regular review and update, schedule regular reviews of resilience plans to ensure relevance and incorporate feedback and changes in the business environment. Once again, I will want to recommend that in case you're just joining us for the first time today, please go and watch the first section of this lecture on result-driven planning and smart goal setting, all right? So that will help you to appreciate more of what we're talking about here, and that will also help you to get to work better with the templates that have already been established in the first section, right? Now, let's quickly take a look at scenario planning. Please note, we're just going to review scenario planning. We'll have another lecture, an in-depth lecture that will cover scenario planning and give us the appropriate guide on how to practice or how to engage scenario planning. So here we are going to be looking at scenario planning, a tool for managing VUCA environment. Scenario planning, a tool for managing VUCA environment. Okay. Now, scenario planning involves creating and analyzing different hypothetical future scenarios to enhance strategic decision making in uncertain and volatile environment. So if you compare the definition of scenario planning with that of resilience planning, you find that they're just almost the same thing. Okay, just almost the same thing. Now, what are the key steps in scenario planning? So you have number one, identifying key uncertainties. The key uncertainties here will mean identifying critical uncertainties and factors contributing to the VUCA environment. Examples like economic shifts, technological advancement, regulatory changes, global events. So what are the possible things that could cause the VUCA environment to come alive? Now, the United States of America, I believe they're having their elections this year. So have you also taken the time to appreciate what that particular election, what it could mean to the economic environment, to the global economic environment? So we need to start planning now so that we don't get caught unawares. We don't get caught unawares. Then you have developing multiple scenarios, create a range of plausible future scenarios based on identified uncertainties. So what if you create scenarios? For instance, now that we've identified that US election will definitely affect the global market. So what if we predict a scenario where a dollar could be going for 2,000 naira? Yeah, is it possible? We might not know, but we could create that scenario. So how will that affect your business, and what strategies are you going to adopt to handle that if that is the case? Okay, now have you ever imagined what if there is crisis? What if there is an outbreak of crisis in the US election? Somebody could say it has never happened before. But is it a possibility? Yes. Crisis is just one of the possible outcomes of general elections. Okay, so if there is crisis, and now this crisis get to be networked to other countries, have you imagined what it could bring to your own country economic, the country economic activities, right? So let's play around some scenarios and then see what we could do. All right. Consider best case, worst case, and moderate case scenarios to cover a spectrum of possibilities. Still on steps in scenario planning, you have analyzing impact, and then you have strategic responses. On analyzing impact, evaluate the potential impact of each scenario on the organization or on yourself or your family, as the case may be. Assess how different factors interact and influence outcomes in each scenario. Okay, like I just gave an instance now. You have the scenario of US having an election in 2024, and then we have different scenarios playing out. For instance, there could be a possibility of effect on the global economic activities. There could be possibility of exchange rate fluctuations. It could actually go high. Yeah, it could actually go high. So what if we envisage a 2,000 naira to a dollar? Is it possible? We might not know, but there is a possibility to that. Okay. Now, what if there are other countries connected to maybe to the election, and at the end of the day there could be crisis? Have you imagined what the effect will be on the global economy? All right. So we could play out how these factors could interact, and then the outcome for each of these scenarios, we can pick them out and begin to plan on how to deal with them. Then strategic responses, develop strategic responses for each scenario, identify key initiatives, resource allocations, and actions required to thrive or survive in each situation. So how would you want to thrive or survive in each situation? Still on steps or key steps in scenario planning, you have flexibility and adaptability. We've dealt with that when we talked about strategies to managing VUCA environment, or managing in VUCA environment, how to manage in VUCA environment. We talked about flexibility, and we talked about adaptability, and we talked about establishing agile frameworks, okay, to help you manage challenges as they come. Okay, so part of what you could do also is ensure that you have a resilience plan in place to make sure that you have something to fall back on. Then you talk about the early warning signs. In your scenario plan, you have to identify early warning signs to the particular scenario you have identified, and then be able to work on that. So implement systems to monitor signals and indicators that may signal a shift towards one scenario or another. Ensure early dictation of changes to facilitate timely adjustment. They are stakeholders engagement and learning and iteration. Of course, for every scenario, there must be stakeholders involved. So how do you plan to engage effectively with the stakeholders in terms of communication and the likes? Okay, and then learning and iteration. For every scenario you created and you had a drill on it, you had a training on it, you have to find out what lessons have been learned and how do you integrate that to your overall process as an organization. This makes the whole management process dynamic and much more flexible. Now, finally, you have integration with decision making. So out of all of what you've learned, you should be able to take it to decision making, to decision making in your organization, in your country. Okay, so if you're a political office holder listening to this video, watching this section, so you must find a way to integrate the decisions of your scenario plan to policy making, policy adjustment, and all of that. Okay, so integrate scenario planning into the overall decision making process. Use scenarios to inform strategic decisions, risk management, and resource allocations. Now, what are the benefits of scenario planning in a VUCA environment? There is enhanced preparedness, there is strategic agility, there is risk mitigation, there will be informed decision making, and there will be resilience building. So all of this we've gone through in past slides. Okay, we've looked at them. Okay, so all of these are the benefits that you get to see when you have effective scenario planning in a VUCA environment. You have enhanced preparedness, strategic agility, risk mitigation, informed decision making, and then you have resilience planning. Okay, now in summary, resilience planning is crucial in navigating a VUCA environment, as it helps organizations and individuals as well adapt to unforeseen challenges, ensuring business continuity and sustainability. On the other side, scenario planning, when effectively executed, equips organizations with the tools and insights needed to navigate complexities and uncertainties of a VUCA environment. It also fosters a proactive and adaptive approach to strategy helping organizations not only survive, but thrive in the face of unpredictable challenges. So thank you so much once again for being part of our training today. But we have a question here. And the question is, the planning that was initiated by President George W. Bush, was it a resilience planning approach or was it a scenario planning approach? So I would like you to put your answer in the chat room. The planning of President George W. Bush, was it a resilience planning approach or was it scenario planning approach? I would like you to put your answer in the chat room. So give us either scenario planning or you put resilience planning. So thank you so much once again for being part of this webinar. In case you've not subscribed to this channel, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. And also feel free to share this link with your colleagues so that they can also find valuable information. If you ever think that the information we've shared here in this webinar is valuable, please feel free to share with your colleagues and invite them to be part of what we're doing here. Thank you so much, and I'll be handing over to our coordinator right now. Thank you so much, and let's see if there are questions.
All right, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Doctor, for this wonderful section. I mean, thank you for the relevant information you shared with us. I believe with this section, people can go on their ways to make things happen for their organization and individually. All right, so this time we'll be taking questions from anybody that may have something to ask regards to what Doctor just dissected now. So if you have any question regards to this topic, kindly send it to the comment section on the YouTube. Please, if you have any question, kindly type it out and send it to the comment section if you have something that you want to add or you have something to say before we close for the day. And of course, we are preparing for next week as well. We have another session coming up next week. And I believe Doctor will talk more about that before we close the section for today. So if you have any questions, please go to the comment box and say something. And if you have any recommendation as well, if you have anything you want to say to contribute to what Doctor just dealt with now, please don't withhold it, say it, and let's move from there. Thank you once again for joining us today. We believe that next week will be a better one. And don't be selfish. Please reach out to friends and family and fans that they may also be interested to participate from our upcoming classes. That would be a very good gift that you can give to your people this time around. Thank you, thank you. I think, Doctor, we do not have anybody that wants to ask questions, and I feel, and subsequently, if at all, if you cannot type everything out, you can still drop the question inside that box in case when we come across it, we can, have opportunity to share the response to it. And don't forget to join our community, our WhatsApp group. That's where you can get relevant and timely information that you may need going forward. So please, you will see the link. We send it to your mail. Some people have been receiving mail lately, so we have a link that you can click and just get to the WhatsApp group. And you can come back again because I feel Doctor was trying to maximize the time. You can come back again to rewatch and enjoy your time on YouTube here. Thank you. It seems there's nobody that wants to ask any question, Doctor. You might need to just wrap it up here for today.
All right, thank you so much, Dami, and thanks to everyone once again for being part of this section this evening. We'll take all your questions from the chat, from the YouTube section. So feel free to ask any question, and we'll be there to answer you. Okay, then amazingly, we have other sections coming up 9th, 11th, 12th. Okay, so on the 9th, we have proposal development. On the 11th, we have, on the 9th, we have, so we still have three more sections to go. So let me not beat around without the actual dates. Okay, so we have the next business proposal development, or general proposal development, rather, professional proposal development. So we're going to have a review on that. And then we have a review on business innovation strategies. Now that we've looked at the VUCA environment, we also need to look at possible strategies we could use to navigate this VUCA environment. How do you position your career? How do you position your business? How do you position yourself? So we're going to look at that in the business innovation strategies. It's going to be another wonderful time to make considerations. And then our last topic for this time, which is going to be by 12th. Okay, so we have 9th, 11th, and 12th. On the 12th, we're going to be looking at career strategies, career growth strategies, career advancement strategies, and it's going to be a wonderful time. Now, if you are joining us in this live stream and you're not yet a member of IPM, please, we encourage you to join us, be part of our membership. Okay, so we encourage you to be part. And I want to use this opportunity to appreciate all of our fellows who are here present. I can see our Honorable President, Mr. Femi Ganduno. I can see the Honorable Accountant, Mr. Emmanuel Jato. And I see Orient, that's Ambassador Raphael. I believe he's the one. Now I have Honorable Gabriel. I also say Barrister Gabriel. I also say thanks to everyone for coming. We appreciate you real good. And for all of our fellows, we encourage you to also invite your fellows to join us in these sections. Okay, these are valuable sections, and I'm sure they will get to learn a whole lot. At this juncture, I want to say very big thank you to everyone. And please give us a like, at least for the video you're watching. Please give us a like on the video. Give us at least good emojis. Yeah. So if you love it, use the love. It is hilarious. Then do the same as well. But please join us by next week. Okay. And by next week, we'll also talk about, in case you want to have opportunity to be certified or get a certificate in this program, we'll talk about that in the WhatsApp group. We'll talk about that in your emails, and then we'll talk about that essentially when we'll come back next week. So don't miss any of them, and it will be a wonderful time. Thank you, and see you. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please do so right now. Thank you, and see you. Bye-bye.